A brand new survey found that 38% of Americans would buy a Chinese car tomorrow if they could. Among Gen Z, it is 69%. They cannot, because tariffs keep those cars out of the United States. But in Australia, where they are on every street, one of the most popular Chinese SUVs lost about 42% of its value in a single year. Same cars Americans say they want. By the end of this video, you will understand the number the ads never mention, and why Australian buyers keep buying anyway. The want. The survey came from Cox Automotive, the company behind Kelley Blue Book, and it ran right at the turn of the year, from late December 2025 into early January 2026. It asked 802 Americans who plan to buy a car within 2 years. 38% said they would be very likely to cross-shop a Chinese brand. 39% said they would not, but split it by age, and it tilts hard. 69% of Gen Z said they would consider one. The brand Americans knew best was BYD at about 35% awareness. Chery was second, around 30%. But knowing a brand's name is not the same as knowing the car. Only about 17% of those Americans said they were actually familiar with BYD, even though 35% recognized the name. So most of that 38% is reacting to a reputation, not a test drive. And the reason the reputation is so appealing is the price. The average new car in the United States now runs close to $50,000, and it's a similar story in Australia. Against a number that high, a well-equipped Chinese SUV, thousands of dollars cheaper, looks like a rescue. So the appetite is real, especially among younger buyers, and it's growing. There's just one problem: Americans can't actually buy one. The United States stacks tariffs on Chinese-built cars past 100%, which keeps BYD, NIO, and the rest out of American showrooms entirely. Most Americans have only seen these cars on a trip abroad or across the border in Canada or Mexico. They want the car. The border says no. The number the ads leave out. Now go to Australia, where there's no such wall, and the cars are everywhere. This is where the part the ads skip shows up. These cars lose value faster than the cars they're beating. One Australian depreciation study, updated in February 2026, put the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro down 42.01% in a little over a year. The BYD Atto 3 down 35.84%. Now line that up against the cars they're taking sales from. A 2024 Toyota RAV4 was selling for about 4.3% below its new price. A Corolla Hybrid or a Hilux sat around 10%. So the Chinese SUV lost close to half its value. In the same stretch, the Toyota lost a slice. Over 3 years, Chinese brands hold roughly 50 to 55% of their sticker price, where an equivalent Toyota or Mazda holds 60 to 70%. Buy the cheaper car, and a bigger share of what you paid quietly disappears while you own it. Put real numbers on it. Say 2 families each spend around $55,000, one on a Chinese electric SUV, one on a comparable Toyota. 3 years later, the Toyota owner has lost maybe 1/3 of that. The Chinese SUV owner has lost close to half. That's several $1,000s of difference, sitting on the far end of the deal where nobody points a camera, and it lands entirely on the person who bought first. If this is useful, hit subscribe, because the reason behind that drop isn't the one you'd expect. Why it happens. Here's the part that surprises people. The fast depreciation has almost nothing to do with how the cars are built. It's a side effect of how fast they're selling. Picture buying a 2-year-old Chinese SUV secondhand. Right next to it on the lot sits a brand new version of nearly the same car, with a fresh warranty and sharper finance for close to the same money. So the new one undercuts the used one every single time, and the used price has to drop to move. Any brand growing this fast does that to its own secondhand stock. Australian used car analysts put it plainly: a 2-year-old Chinese SUV has to compete against a brand new one with a fresh warranty and sharper finance at nearly the same money, so the new one wins every time, and the used price collapses to keep up. There's a second reason too, one a lot of owners point to. These brands update their cars fast. A model 2 years old can already be a generation behind on tech and range, the way a 2-year-old phone feels slow next to the one in the shop window. You get more car for the money each year, which is great if you're buying new, and rough if you're the one trying to sell. Put those two together, and the resale value drops faster than almost anything else on the road, not because the car got worse, but because the deal behind it got better. The honest part. Now here's what's strange, and it's the honest heart of this. None of that depreciation has moved a single number on the sales charts. Australians are still buying these cars in record numbers. BYD passed Tesla as the country's best-selling electric brand. Chery's cheapest SUV became one of the most popular small SUVs in the country. Buyers can see the resale numbers, and they're buying anyway, because the price on the windshield is low enough that they've decided the loss on the far end is worth it. That's the real trade. The person who buys first gets the cheap car and eats the depreciation. The person who buys that same car secondhand 2 years later gets a bargain somebody else paid for. And for a lot of first buyers, the math still works. If you keep a car for 10 years, the resale price barely matters, and you drove something newer and better equipped than the Toyota next to it for less money up front. The people it hurts are the ones who trade in every 3 or 4 years, because they're the ones who hand the loss straight to the next owner. Same car, same street, two completely different deals depending on when you walk in. The point isn't that these cars are a scam. They're not. The point is that cheap has a second price tag that doesn't show up on the sticker, and it lands on whoever buys first. Australia is the market showing exactly what that costs in public every month, because it has no tariffs and no protection to blur the picture. And that's why the American number matters. 38% of Americans and 69% of Gen Z say they want in. They're looking at the low prices and the long feature lists and picturing the deal. Australia already made that deal out in the open with no wall in the way. The cars really are that cheap and that well equipped, and the people who bought them first are the ones quietly covering it on the resale line. So the wall that keeps these cars out of America is also keeping Americans from finding out what Australians already know. When those brands do reach the US, and companies like BYD have talked about it, that same 38% is going to meet the low sticker price first and the resale number a year or two later. Australia just got there first. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Knowing a new Chinese SUV might lose 40% of its value in a couple of years, would you still buy one to save thousands up front, or would you pay more for a Toyota that holds its price? Tell me which way you'd go and why.